Today's date is August 17, 2025. We're having an Israeli-Palestinian Confederation simulation. We are speaking about the area of Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. The entire area that includes over 14 million people who reside in Gaza, the West Bank, and Israel. We are proposing a federal government, one government for the entire area. In the history of this area, there has never been a democratic government for the entire area. The Israeli government controls the whole area, but it's not elected, never been elected by the Palestinians in that area. The Palestinian government has never been elected by the Israelis and has been elected by some Palestinians many years ago. There isn't a single legitimate democratic government for the entire area of Israel, Palestine. That includes the area of Gaza, the West Bank, and Israel. We are proposing one legitimate government that would be elected by the people who reside in Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza, 14 million people, regardless of their nationality, of their religion, or any other difference. All people are equal, and we are proposing a federal government that would be equal to the entire area of Israel, Palestine. You could read the Constitution. We are proposing 300 parliament members. If you go to our website and click on Constitution, you'll be able to read the Constitution. It's available in 3 languages: Arabic, Hebrew, and English. You can also go to Contact Us and see many people, Palestinians and Israelis, who support this concept of a federal government. I'm sorry, if you go to About Us, not Contact Us, I made a mistake. So if you go to About Us, you'll see there are many Palestinians and Israelis who support the idea of a federal government, a democracy for the entire area that would be separate and independent of the Israeli and the Palestinian government, and would also be separate and independent of religion, a secular government. You could reach me at josephavassar@gmail.com. Today we are having a different simulation. We will be sitting together, proposing legislation. I have made some proposals, but we will be able to discuss the merits of these legislation. We will also be able to talk today about the Constitution, about the veto power, and all other issues you want to talk about. Our next guest on August 31st will be Ronit Chitayat-Kashi. She's an anti-Zionist Israeli of Iraqi descent. On September 4th, we will have an in-person meeting at the LA Public Library on Fairfax. It's between 5 to 7 p.m. If you live in this area of Los Angeles, please come, and you will be given a copy of the Constitution, and we will have a discussion about the concept of a federal government in Israel, Palestine. On September 14, we will have a simulation with Sapir Handelman. He is with an organization called Minds of Congress of the People. On September 28th, we will have a simulation with Professor Victor Silverman of Pomona College. And on October 12th, simulation with Dr. Tamir Sorek, a professor of sociology and Jewish studies at Penn State University. On November 23rd, we will have a simulation with Matt Duss, who is a former advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders. Nasir, I believe, is with us today. He will help facilitate the conversation and facilitate your comments and change your comments, if possible, to a question, whatever you put on the chat. And he will also help me conduct the simulation because I know he's very interested in those specific issues we're going to be speaking today. Here is a short movie, 2 minutes, that explains the concept of a federal government that we are proposing.
The conflict between Israelis and Palestinians has endured for generations. And instead of time healing the wounds, it's only caused the anger to fester and the violence to grow. But what if there was a way to alleviate the tension? Something that may not outright solve every problem, but at least create a forum that encourages a peaceful compromise. Welcome to the Israeli-Palestinian Confederation, a common third government between the Israeli and Palestinian citizens, specifically designed to foster peace, tolerance, and economic prosperity between the two nations. Here's how it works. First off, both Israel and Palestine will keep their respective governments. Israel's Knesset and the Palestinian National Authority will remain unchanged. The Israeli-Palestinian Confederation, IPC, will be a third entity acting as a unifying agent between the two. The IPC will comprise 300 parliament members elected from 300 districts in Israel, the West Bank, and Gaza. Above them will preside a president and vice president, one Israeli and one Palestinian. In order for the IPC to pass a law, it will require a 55% majority from its Israeli representatives, as well as a 55% majority from its Palestinian representatives, thereby preventing either side from monopolizing the legislature. Of course, the IPC won't undermine the political power of either the Israeli or the Palestinian government. At any time, Israel or Palestine may veto a law passed by the IPC. If neither side vetoes, the law is passed. And the two nations are another step closer to resolution. Please help us make this a reality. The Israeli-Palestinian Confederation. We might speak different languages, but we all mean the same thing.
Let's conduct a pre-survey simulation, a pre-simulation survey, I'm sorry. Do you support a common confederation government for the people of Israel and Palestine? Please vote at this time, and we'll compare it to the post-simulation survey. Do you support a common federal government? Basically, it means, do you support a common federal government, while the understanding that we are not proposing dismantling the Israeli or the Palestinian government. 5 more seconds to vote. You can vote no. I mean, if you don't know what it is, then by all means you can vote no. All right, publish the vote. So 13 people voted, 14 people voted, and all of them voted in favor. All right, let's see how it panned out after the simulation. Some people asked us, are you a federation or confederation? Confederation and federal governments exist worldwide to address specific conflicts. Some governments refer to themselves as federal governments, while others use the term confederation. Definitions are not fixed and evolve with changing realities. In the context of what we are proposing, the IPC defines confederation and federation as a shared government for the people of Israel and Palestine, guided by democratic principles outlined in the IPC Constitution, which can be found at ipconfederation.org. Even though we are having an open discussion, I want you to understand the assumptions that we are working under, and that is that a federal government could be created if we able to obtain major funding to create the federal government, to create the election, and to make the people of Israel and Palestine aware that the benefit of the federal government, and will be able to vote, and we will be able to create a platform for voting. Our estimate is that this whole thing would cost $100 million. That's a drop in the bucket in comparison to the violence that has been going on for years now between Israel and the Palestinians. There are 14 million people that would be able to vote. We are assuming that 5 million people will vote, that 3 million people, Palestinians will vote, and 2 million Israelis will vote. And we are working under the concept that a president will be elected. We believe that if we have an honest and fair opportunity to present this idea, 1.5 million people will vote for the same president, and 1.3 million will vote for the same vice president. 300 parliament members in 300 districts will be elected. Each parliament member represents 47,000 people. This is the area. Even though we are not really doing the simulation, I don't know how things will develop. So let's nevertheless choose, because there may be issues that we need to vote upon. So let's choose right now whether you are a Palestinian or Israeli parliament member. So Dan, can you put that on? Palestinian parliament member. So make a choice whether you are a Palestinian or Israeli parliament member, and remain so consistent throughout our discussion. I'm not sure that we will actually vote, but there is a good chance that we will, because we're having an open discussion, and I'm sure that issues will come up. So right now, we 5 more seconds to vote, to make your choice, really, and publish the vote. We have 8 Palestinian parliament members and 7 Israeli, and remains so. And also think of the area that you will be representing, because we are talking about 300 parliament members in 300 districts. So if you are Palestinian or Israeli, decide in your mind what area you represent, because they're in the discussion. The area that you represent may very well be very important when you are discussing the specific issues. All right, let's start with the Constitution, and then we will have a discussion on the Constitution. Libby, would you be so kind as to read the Constitution?
We believe that Palestinians and Israelis are entitled to equal rights under the law and guaranteed human rights and freedom. The Israeli-Palestinian Confederation does not intend to supersede or supplant the Palestinian or Israeli governments, nor to abrogate or undermine any agreements between those governments. We recognize the need to work with the Israeli and Palestinian governments. Our purpose is to resolve conflicts and to expand the relationship between Palestinians and Israelis in a fair and equitable manner. We believe in equal rights under the law, guaranteed human rights, and freedom for all. We voluntarily give the legislatures and the governments of Israel and Palestine veto power over legislation we pass relating to the domain of control of those governments. We believe in the separation of power between the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. We believe in the creation of a permanent secular government for all the people residing in Israel and Palestine. We believe in having a separate judicial branch relating to IPC legislation with Israeli and Palestinian judges, with a system to avoid biased decisions based on nationality.
So I received some emails from wanting clarification on the Constitution. And I asked those who sent me the email to come on to the simulation and ask me those questions in public, because the questions were very important, and I think that the answers are also important. So is there anyone here who wants to ask a question regarding the Constitution, or just make a comment? Please speak now if you have a question. Interesting, when I get those emails, I said, come on, and they said they will, but they don't. So I'm not sure if they are just challenging it, but it's difficult to believe that no one has a question regarding the Constitution.
Can you paraphrase one of the questions that was sent to you by email? Maybe that will help.
The question is, one of the questions, as I recall, was, would the Israeli government allow this to happen? And the answer to that is, I don't know. I don't know that they will or will not. And I don't know that it's important. Yes, it is important, but in the sense of actually going forward with the election, the way I see it, if we get traction, if we get media attention, the Israeli and the Palestinian governments are going to have a conundrum, and that is, would they want to publicly oppose this? And in my opinion, they will not oppose this. They will wait for the other government to oppose it. They're probably going to ridicule it, try to ridicule it, but that's all they would do. I don't think that they would physically try to prevent the election. It's not in their interest, because if they try to prevent the election, they will actually give it more attention, and they would expose their own fear of a federal government. So I think that they're going to have a conundrum, but they will not be able to respond, and eventually they will realize that they cannot oppose it if they so decide to oppose it. Alan, you have a question?
Yes. I remain unresolved that the Constitution does not recognize the ambiguity of residence, that there are many Palestinians not permitted to live in Palestine, and one could say also there are many Israelis or Jews who would prefer their residence in Israel. Somehow there has to be a provision of some recognition in an advisory way somehow of these communities that are excluded from residence having a voice in their nationality. I don't know how to do that. I think it should at least have some recognition if we're looking at equal rights. Some people are apropos deprived of their equal rights. So anyhow, I very much approve of this whole thing, but a great problem is how to resolve the right of return and the immigration policy. That's what I have to
Alan,
say.
the Constitution can be amended. And the Constitution also gives the Palestinian and the Israeli the ability to pass legislation. You want to find in the Constitution as much commonality as possible. You're basically saying, well, it's not perfect. These are the issues that I think should be included. Yeah, they would make the Constitution perfect in your eyes, but the chances of getting the Israelis to participate in it would be nil. They would basically see this federal government and the Constitution as a way to destroy the state of Israel. But if you say, well, let's have Palestinians and Israeli parliament members resolve the issues of the right of return. And by the way, Alan, the Palestinian government have never resolved that issue. And this is not a Palestinian government. So to say, well, we want the Constitution to resolve the Palestinian issue, it basically, you're saying, let's not have a federal government because you will not get any Israeli to participate in it. And you're asking us to jump a hurdle that neither that the Palestinian governments never attempted themselves to resolve.
I hear you.
Any other issues regarding the Constitution? Not necessarily by you, Alan, but we did add some provisions to the Constitution. Now that we have the meetings, in-person meetings, we give out the Constitution to the people who come into the meetings. And it's very, very interesting. The last meeting we had, I think it was Dan who said, this is it. This is a peace plan. All you have to do is hand out the Constitution, and this is the peace plan. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're in each in-person meeting, we're going to give the Constitution, and we're going to read at least the preamble to the Constitution. Margaret. Margaret, you raise your hand.
I'm unmuted. Hey, yeah, I had to unmute. I was tangled in that. Good morning. My question, representing an Israeli citizen today, might Israel forbid me to participate in the initial vote to create the IPC?
How would they do that?
Make it illegal to participate, arrest people, or I don't know. Might they? That's what my question.
Well, the
Outside
election
of
will
propaganda.
the election will take place online. People will be able to vote using their phone, using their computers at home. It would be secure. There is a way to make it secure. We are able to identify, to make sure people do not vote twice, to make sure that the people who reside where they say they reside actually reside, and who they say they are. In Israel and in Palestine, they have an ID card. every person has an ID card. It's something that you carry with you 24/7. That ID card has a chip. It has a special number. Each person has a special number. Now, yes, the Israeli government could pass legislation prohibiting people from running and prohibiting people from voting. But in my opinion, the chances that they would do that is minimal. Because it would expose them. It would require a Knesset discussion about the reason for passing this legislation. It would open up the public into a discussion about this. It would probably be the best PR move in favor of the federal government.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure that Israel, I'm sure it's not in its interest to prevent a federal government. What is Israel's interest in preventing a federal government? I mean, especially when they haven't been able to give peace to the Israeli people. You know, at the end of the day, you have to give an explanation of why you are doing whatever it is that you're doing, especially if you are passing legislation. So what would be the rationale for preventing the people from running and for preventing people from voting?
thank you, Joseph,
Any other questions?
addressing my question.
But Joseph, let me follow up on that. It may be that there's certain things that Israel will do policies. For example, the State Department of the United States issues a warning to people who are traveling to Israel. But again, this is not for Israeli citizens. But for example, supporting BDS. Supporting BDS can get you turned back at the airport, told that you're not allowed to enter or visit the country. So I think Margaret's question, although it is not legal now for Israel to bar someone from participating in such an organization, it could be something. And I know you're saying that it's not in their interest, but you know, Israel doesn't do things in its interest. Israel is doing things like this war in Gaza, everything that's going on right now, the settlements, those are not in Israel's interest, but these are the paths that they follow because there's a group of people who are controlling the Israeli government they're the ones driving the policy. I mean, you know, Smotrich is announcing his settlements, and then you have people like Daniela Weiss, who is an extreme hateful woman. But these are the people who are speaking for the government. They're the ones that everything they said is happening. They're not fringe movements. They're the people of the government. So they will pass irrational laws. And if they feel threatened, they will make it illegal for people like Margaret to participate, just like they do with Palestinians, just like they do with Americans who visit. If they see you, they ask you for your social media post. Did you post anything that is anti-Semitic, meaning BDS? BDS is considered anti-Semitism by Israeli standards. You could be denied entry. You can be denied, you know, Palestinians can be denied, for example, access to jobs, access to traveling at the checkpoints and things like that. Even, for example, Palestinians get turned back when they want to travel through Jordan because they have to use the Jordan airport if the Israeli authorities feel that they are not behaving or accepting certain things. So there's many things that can be done, and I think Margaret's concerns are very legit.
The discussion we're having now have been going on 500 years ago when democracy was introduced. We had a king, an emperor, and someone said the king and the emperor is not really representing us, and he's not acting in our interest. and we should have a democracy. And let's create our own government. Let's have an election and create our own representative. And the same fear that is being spoken today was discussed at that time. The king has the army, the king has the soldiers, he has the horses, and he will prevent us from voting. He will do whatever he can to prevent a democracy, because a democracy is against his own interest. So we cannot really be afraid in creating better future for ourselves and future generations. And also, I want to remind you, we actually did have the election in 2012. We did advertise it in the New York Times, and we did have people running for parliament. It was most 99.9% of the people did not know about it, but the government of Israel, I'm sure, knew about it because we published it in the New York Times, and it was in open, and we had a meeting about it in Jerusalem in which there were demonstrations against it, and the Israeli police showed up. So, and they did not stop it. They did not try to stop it. I think they mostly are going to ridicule it. This is not the type of enemy that they are familiar with. They are familiar with physical enemies. They're not familiar with a democratic enemy as they perceive it. All right. Any other questions? Let's go to the, and by the way, if we are able to do this, then everything changes. Everything changes in Israel, Palestine, because the whole idea is to have the federal government getting its own legitimacy from the people, and it's something that has never been done before in the history of humanity. It's going to be huge. Now, that may be something that Israel or the Palestinians are afraid of, but once the ball is rolling, it would be very difficult for them to stop it. All right, let's go to granting a veto power, and then we'll have a discussion about why we're having a veto power. Libby, could you do that, please?
So this is granting a veto power to the separate governments. The Confederation is the government of the entire population of Israel and Palestine from the river to the sea. We recognize the Palestinian and Israeli governments and are seeking their cooperation to implement our vision for peace by giving them a veto. We will do our utmost to satisfy the essential needs of each government. We are pleading with the Palestinian and Israeli public to understand that while we would like to pass the best legislation possible to improve their lives, under these constraints, a perfect legislation is not possible. We hereby bestow a veto power relating to legislation affecting sovereignty to the following: the government of Israel on issues in which it is indispensable, the Palestinian government on issues in which it is indispensable. In the event of changes in the entirety of the Israeli or Palestinian governments, this legislation may be amended or repealed subject to the IPC Constitution. The Parliament will decide on indispensability. Vetoes may be bestowed individually or collectively.
So we have our way of defining sovereignty. Sovereignty is, as we see it, is the ability of the existing governments to block us. That's how we define sovereignty. And we give them a veto power because they have the ability to block us. Any questions on this veto power before we move to Gaza? All right, so let's go to Gaza. That's the legislation that I wrote, and we will be able to discuss. And I'm sure you'll have some issues that you want to add or delete to this legislation. And the legislation is 10-day emergency truce. Libby, could you please read this?
The conditions in Gaza and Israel require urgent humanitarian action to assist individuals deprived of basic necessities, including food and medicine. Pursuant to Article 1, Section 2 of the Israeli-Palestinian Confederation Constitution, the Parliament of the Israeli-Palestinian Confederation hereby submits this emergency bill. 1. All fighting and violence shall cease at midnight tonight and remain suspended for the next 10 days. 2. Beginning at midnight tonight, the IPC shall be granted free and safe access to deliver food and medicine to all individuals in Israel and Palestine. 3. The IPC's medical teams shall be granted free and safe access to provide care to all individuals in Israel and Palestine. And 4, the Israeli and Palestinian authorities shall have the right to inspect the food, supplies, and medical personnel in an expedient manner without unnecessary delays. The Israeli and Palestinian governments are hereby granted veto power over this measure to be exercised before midnight tonight.
So this legislation is to deal with the dire circumstances in Gaza. And if you notice, we do not speak specifically about Israeli or Palestinian. We speak about people, individuals, deprived of basic necessities. That includes Israelis and includes Palestinians. And they're all people, individuals. Nasir, what's your question about this?
I'm sorry, did I have a question? I didn't have my hand raised.
I know. I assumed that you would.
Oh, you seem that I would have a question. Okay. Give me a second. Go ahead,
Shlomo.
Shlomo. Yeah, let Shlomo go first.
Let me, yeah. Yeah, the symmetry, I'm a little disturbed by the symmetry. Like the Israelis are in bad shape. We need to take care of the, of course, the word genocide is not mentioned here, even though the B'Tselem already called it genocide and many experts. Yeah, I don't know why 10 days emergency truce. I would say just open the gates and let people go. I don't know. It's so strange that all we ask is the 10-day emergency truce while it's like a concentration camp during the Holocaust. Okay, think about it. Okay, so we asked the Germans to let us in for 10 days and help the Germans and the Jews, there is something, but it's better than not, I admit, but it is like it's too little. But they need Israel should lift the whole siege. and stop the genocide and let Gaza live. Let whoever is still alive there, and they are dying by the hundreds every day, right? So if not thousands. So it's the emergency of the situation is so, I don't know, it doesn't reflect enough the horror and the inhumane situation. I no, it's again, it's better than not, but
What would you propose right
um,
now? If we had this federal government and you have the, what would you propose right now?
propose
That
right,
would be
right.
acceptable to both sides.
Both sides, Israel will not accept anything. So, but I would say stop the genocide, open the gates, let food come in, let them, yeah, come, make an agreement for long term ceasefire, not just 10 days. And
Are
and
you saying the Israeli will not agree to this?
most Israelis would, I think, would. I don't know what Israelis are nowadays, but I think they would, because if they are guaranteed safety, because the most important thing for Israelis is safety. So yeah, if you can guarantee the safety, and you can have an agreement. In fact, you could have an agreement before October 7. It just Israel never wanted to have any agreement with any political solution with the Gaza and with the Hamas. Yeah, so yes, I would say let's do it now. It's late, but maybe not too late. Uh, and again, I
Uh,
mean, where is the,
Libby,
Mhm.
Yeah, I wonder why we even say for 10 days, all fighting for 10 days. In my opinion, all fighting has to stop, period, because if you say 10 days, somebody takes advantage of that and they just say at the end of 10 days, things didn't turn out the way I wanted. And so we just go back in and go for the rest of the people that we need to get rid of. So I don't think we should do 10 days. I think all fighting needs to be suspended, ceased and suspended permanently, giving an opportunity for very serious efforts to be made to not only provide the food and medicine, but to determine where all these people who are homeless and stranded are going to go. There's so much more to this, and obviously you can't cover all the details in this, but I think we should be tougher. I mean, this is serious business, and thousands of people's lives are on the line. So somehow, if we're going to step in and take hold, we need to really go for it.
I agree 100%.
well, you're speaking in terms of a perfect legislation, and I'm speaking in terms of legislation that will pass and will not be vetoed. That's the difference. I agree with your perfect legislation. I am just saying, under the circumstances and the fact that Israel is in control of the area, and so is Hamas has control, what would be agreed upon by them? Let's hear from Nasir.
You see, this is the issue that I have when we approach it like this. What would be agreeable? What would be acceptable? What would be a measure that would be approved? I mean, I think what Libby said is 100%. 10 days, first of all, logistically speaking, 10 days would not be enough time. I think the amount of the atrocities, the starvation, the medical aid that's needed, 10 days, I don't even think they can start this in 10 days. And the issue is, when you're saying that the Israeli and Palestinian authorities shall have the right to inspect the food supplies, this is, I wouldn't even call this a band-aid, because I don't even think it's a band-aid. It's like holding a little piece of cloth against a leg that's bleeding severely. So this is not even a band-aid solution, in my opinion. In fact, it's bills like this that will make this IPC look like a joke, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you why. Because if I'm looking at this from the perspective of the people in Gaza who are facing, I'm going to say it, a Holocaust, a genocide. And I know people don't like that term, but today, the images that we're seeing today, the families, I mean, families that are being massacred, wiped out. You know, I just got an email from Palestine American, 44,000 children now don't have parents. We have the highest ratio of amputees among children than any other parts of the world. Another thing that's interesting, this war versus war in Iraq and Afghanistan and Syria, a study was done about the lifespan, expecting a life expectancy rate. And in 5 years of war in those countries, life expectancies went down by about 5 years to, I think, 8 years was the max. In 1 year, in war with Gaza, life expectancy in Gaza has gone down by 35 years. We went from something like 60 to now 35. So the average life expectancy rate in Gaza right now is 35 years old.
If
We
they
have
have
not-
life at all.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it tells you two things. It tells you that a lot of people are dying at a young age. And here's the thing. The last time I saw those rates where life expectancy was reduced to 35 was when the AIDS epidemic was killing people in the southern countries in Africa. So now people are dying in Gaza worse than the AIDS epidemic when it was spreading through Africa. That's where we're at right now. So I don't know these, begging the Israeli government for some measly 10 days to go and put not even a Band-Aid on their war crimes. We as an international community, we as people, we have to stand up against this. This is Nazism. Okay. And if you
Absolutely.
are appeasing them, then you might as well say Sudetenland. Let's do the Sudetenland deal. It didn't work. It didn't work against Hitler and the Nazis. And I don't see any form of appeasement towards something that is clearly a genocide, a Holocaust that is killing children. I can't do that. This is handing them a knife to say, here's a knife, just use it after 10 days. It really
Honestly,
questions the wisdom of any such initiative and anyone who would propose such a thing.
I agree with you
Go to
100%.
Sabta. Go to Sabta. Yeah, guys, go to Sabta. I have a Zoom. I have to talk to these people about a very important thing. Yeah, I will give the presents later for the birthday. I don't know what it is, but Safta will tell you. Okay, talk to Safta. Sorry about that. All right, sorry about that.
No, anyway, Nasir said it right. Yeah, and this is all
Well,
okay.
okay, but let's Nasir.
I mean, we have to face it.
Okay,
We have to face it that leaders.
So we are a federal government.
No, I understand that, Joseph, but what I'm saying is this type of initiative jeopardizes the IPC.
Okay.
Because you're going to lose members. You are going to lose members. You're going to lose people saying that we are complicit. This organization has basically done, like, look at B'Tselem. B'Tselem, for example, has declared that it's a genocide. And a lot of people criticize them, saying that they took too long to do. And I actually respect them for taking long. And the reason is that we have to be careful when we throw out the term genocide. I, for example, never used the term genocide to describe the West Bank or the Nakba. I said ethnic cleansing. I said war crimes. But if you start throwing out it's just like anti-Semitism. Everything's anti-Semitism. Criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. So when the real anti-Semitism comes, guess what? Everyone's going to be like, oh, haven't you been saying that stuff for the last 80 years? So it's the same thing here. So I just think that we have to be careful with things like this because we're going to be seen as basically apologists or we're basically, it's not a good sense. The right position, we have to understand that there are people in Israel in power now that they need to be hung, like those people that were hung at Nuremberg. Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir need to be hung. They should be charged with war crimes and crimes against humanity, and we need to apply the Nuremberg laws just like that.
All right. Nasir, are you a Palestinian parliament member?
Yes, from Jerusalem.
Okay. So what I suggest you do, first, I suggest we take a vote on this. And if it doesn't pass, let's take a vote because our purpose is not, this is not our policy declaration, okay? We are trying to demonstrate how a federal government could work, okay? This is not, we are not B'Tselem that announces its policies or its opinion on what's going on. We are demonstrating how a federal government may be able to pass legislation that is acceptable to both sides, okay? So this is not our policy declaration. This is just a way to have a discussion regarding possible legislation. So what I suggest is we do it right now. This is the purpose of drafting legislation. Let's vote on this right now. And if it doesn't pass, let's write new legislation right now and see if it passes, okay? So, Palestinian parliament members, please vote on this proposed legislation. Palestinian parliament members. Dan, can you put that on? Dan?
Wait, hold on a second. Let me tools.
Maybe you can do that, Nasir.
Yeah, hold on one second. Let me find the right one. 1 second.
Just yes or no legislation.
There we go.
Okay, Palestinian parliament members, please vote. Okay. And the polling. 60% of the Palestinian parliament members voted no. Let's go to the Israeli parliament members. Okay, publish the vote. 67 of the Israeli parliament members voted yes, 33% voted no. Okay, so we have a gap here. So we have to think of how to pass legislation that both sides, remember, the purpose is to demonstrate how the process could work. Okay, so let me open a page and we'll have legislation. Do you have legislation in mind, Nasir, on what to do with Gaza right now? Does anyone have? I'm going to stop the sharing. And
Could I suggest that we just right from the get-go start by saying all fighting and violence shall cease at midnight tonight, period.
Yes.
And not give an open doorway that, okay, it can start up again.
Yes.
okay, let me open a new. What are we calling this? What are we calling this legislation? Stop the fighting or?
Stop the genocide. Period.
You look, I
Why
personally,
doesn't another country come in and defend Palestine? Why hasn't somebody come in internationally and defended Palestine, the Gazans,
yeah,
against
we are
the
not
Israeli
preventing an
occupation?
international. We are a federal government. We're not going to give it to someone else. We want to resolve ourselves. We want to resolve the issue. Okay? We don't prevent other countries from doing it. We have the legitimacy from the people of Israel and Palestine. They expect us to resolve the issue in Gaza and in Israel. We received legitimacy And we have constituents in Israel and Palestine that expect us to do the right thing for our people. What are we doing? What do? We can't throw the ball to someone else and say, you deal with it. We need to deal with the real issue here. I proposed legislation. It did not pass. Okay. There is a genocide. There is hunger. People are suffering in Gaza and in Israel. What are we doing? Just to say no, okay, but what are we proposing that would be acceptable to at least 55% of the Palestinian parliament members and 55% of the Israeli parliament members?
How about stop the killing? Okay, so not general, stop the killing, stop the war. First of all, stop it and start.
How about we keep the name emergency truce legislation? Would that be acceptable?
Okay.
Occupation, right? Stop the occupation, right?
Yeah, but that's later.
Emergency truce legislation. Okay, that's the title. What are we going to put in? What do we want? We are a federal government.
Create an emergency troop or a group that will participate in the witnessing of the stopping, something like that. You need real people on the ground to stop this.
Okay. So
immediate ceasefire. As I say,
okay, I created another legislation. Maybe we should go to that legislation. Declaration of Governance, Ceasefire, and Reconstruction. Let me see if that may be dealing with that problem.
Ceasefire. Immediate.
But there's something, Joseph, but there's something that you said that I just have to say, like, it's inherently, it's wrong. That you're saying that we can't depend on someone else from the outside, or that it has to come from inside.
I didn't say that.
Well, it sounded like that to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm
No,
misinterpreting.
I said we have a responsibility. We do not oppose any other government.
Okay.
But we have a responsibility. We cannot deflect of our responsibility.
Okay.
No. Okay.
To me, this has many more of the elements we have just been talking about. This is more specific.
Libby, you want to read this legislation?
Okay. So this is the Declaration of Governance, Ceasefire, and Reconstruction. The destinies of the Israeli and Palestinian peoples are inseparably linked, and only a unified government can restore peace and stability. The IPC declares an immediate and unconditional ceasefire and demands the immediate release and return of all political prisoners in both Israel and Palestine, on the understanding that persons responsible for war crimes on both sides shall be held accountable. The IPC launches a national reconstruction campaign to rebuild thousands of homes, roads, hospitals, civic institutions, and critical infrastructure, enabling the prompt return of displaced populations to their communities. The IPC proclaims the restoration of law, order, and civil society as a national priority, recognizing that peace is not possible without justice and social stability. The IPC shall retain authority over the Gaza Strip until a new and freely and fairly elected Palestinian government assumes power in Gaza in accordance with democratic principles. All legislative, executive, and judicial decisions related to Gaza shall be enacted by the full IPC government under the IPC Constitution. The IPC calls upon the international community, including the governments of Israel and Palestine, to provide a $50 billion grant to fund this urgent reconstruction and reconciliation effort. The governments of Israel and Palestine are given a veto power over this legislation.
All right. So the reason I proposed the first declaration, it doesn't replace this one, but the first legislation I propose is it's an emergency legislation. There are people that are hungry today. Okay, and this is why we spoke about making a emergency legislation that would take effect by midnight tonight. Okay, this legislation will not take effect by midnight tonight. There are thousands and thousands of Palestinians that are hungry today. They don't really care about long-term 50 billion grant for reconstruction. They want to eat tonight. Okay? And I thought that it would be necessary they want to eat now. Okay? When you're hungry, you are hungry. You don't want to wait until midnight. So I thought about creating emergency legislation. And in the emergency legislation to deal with the 10 days to take effect tonight. This is a long-term legislation, and this is a 10-day emergency legislation to take effect tonight. So giving this background, Margaret, go ahead.
Let's see if I can remember what I was thinking. That before the IPC is created, the IPC can appeal to the world, saying we need help now. Before I don't even know if Palestinians have phone. I don't know if they have internet. How would they vote anyway? But the IPC could appeal, make an appeal to the world or to somebody to come in and step in the middle of it. But anyway, I'm just brainstorming. Thanks.
Oh yeah, but the IPC is doing it right now. I mean, we are calling for resolving but without an election, without legitimacy, we don't really have much power. We are just another small organization that doesn't really have the cachet or the political legitimacy that the whole world will listen to. We are trying to create a government in Israel and Palestine that would be elected by the people of Israel and Palestine, and the president of that government will have huge political power to make the demand that you just mentioned. We are just simulating as if this government has existed. And I am saying, well, let's say the government has existed. We are dealing with the current reality. What do we do? What would a federal government would do under the current condition? So I know it's a little difficult to
No, it's not difficult. Listen, so first of all, 10-day, you just take it out. Emergency truth, we need to follow the UN Charter. We need to follow international law, not just the Section 1, 2, the IPC. There is international law. This is a genocide, but we don't call it. Okay, that's fine not to call it. But it is
I didn't say don't call it.
no, it is a war war crime after war crime after, okay, so we need to stop the war crimes somehow, and there are laws, there are international laws. Where are they in this whole paragraph? We need to put it there because
Uh,
Israel is violating
So
so many.
I'm gonna put like some things that I think that can be added to this, and I think that Shlomo is right. I think that when we speak this language and we don't add those elements such as international law and Geneva Conventions and stuff. So I would say that we have to be careful when presenting this because I feel that this is a continuation of Israel getting a pass, being, oh, international law doesn't apply to you. Oh, it's like, listen, if it was any other country in the world doing what they're doing right now, everything would be different. And I know people say, oh, Israel's targeted in the UN, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the point is, there's no sanctions. Nobody would ever dream of sanctions. If this was Iran, I mean, Iran did have sanctions on them. Syria did have sanctions on them. Sudan, everyone had sanctions on them. So we need the international community to do what the international community and international law is supposed to do. Enough is enough. The green light, the blinked eye, or however they say, the turned eye, or whatever it is, it cannot be given anymore.
All
So
right,
we
you
need
haven't
those
solved.
we need those elements.
Okay, think about a Palestinian child in Gaza that is hungry today, and think
Yes,
about
yes, we do think about it. We see
just
it. We
think
see it
about
every day.
think about
We
think
see it every
about.
day. We see it
Okay,
every day.
so
And
how do you solve that issue
by
of
going after the criminals, and holding accountable for their crime, so that other states don't see this as a way saying, this is the way we want to deal with a population that we don't like. Okay,
so
we do.
you want the federal government. You think that if the federal government will go after the criminals that caused this problem, this child will not be hungry. Is
No,
that is that what
no,
you?
that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that
Okay, so
it doesn't make sense to me to keep a child alive for 10 days more if he's going to get killed 10 days afterwards. It doesn't solve the problem.
okay, I agree with
So
you.
taking the 10-day out is agreed upon, right? We can just say emergency truce until things are resolved. Something like that.
Immediate
Or
emergency
until
truce.
international law is complied with.
We don't have to say anything
stern.
about it until when. Just say, take out the 10-day and say emergency truce.
Yes, immediate emergency truce, something like that.
Here's what I recommend. Joseph, if you look at what I presented, I said that if there's going to be this type of 10-day ceasefire under this proposal, then I think it should lead to something. Like, for example,
Yeah, I agree.
and establish, for example, I put large civilian safe zones, which would be established and declared a no war zone, administered by neutral international organizations. So, for example, 15%, I believe 15% of Gaza, now that we're losing Gaza City, it's going to be less than that. For example, the Massawi area. The Massawi area, it's very close to the Egyptian border. We can have, if civilian populations are going to be forced into those areas, we can have a tunnel, a corridor opened up from Rafah to that area for massive amounts of humanitarian aid to come. Right now, unfortunately, we have these, the GHF, which is basically a for-profit humanitarian aid that's
Not humanitarian, it's a
yeah,
Holocaust.
a for-profit. Yeah, I want to say that. Yeah, and it's interesting. We've actually today reached 2,000. So 2,000 people have been killed going to humanitarian aid. I recommend that you see the interview of Anthony Aguilar and what he had described. And this is a man who's been in Afghanistan, he's been in Syria, he's been in Iraq, and he said nothing compares to what he saw in Gaza. And so I think that we have to have these places, these safe zones, and you have to have access to it just like everybody else does. It's not practical for people who are saying, like, for example, there's a huge movement in the United States right now trying to they've canceled visas of Palestinians to come to the United States for medical treatment. They've canceled it. And the reason why they canceled it is that pro-Zionist organizations right now are playing the card, the anti-immigration feeling cards of the MAGA people, because MAGA people are starting to turn against Israel. So they say, hey, now we have an issue that can get the MAGA people on our side. Anti-immigration. People from Gaza are immigrating illegally to the United States. They're coming for aid. So we don't want our people thrown to other countries to be at the mercy of people, anti-immigration people and things like that. We want, you know, safe zones. We want zones where our people can be treated and not worry about being massacred.
Yes, let's expand on the safe zones within the area, in the river to the sea. It could be wherever, but people are not going to be baited to relief just to get assassinated.
Could
A
I
safe
add
zone.
something here?
Expand on that.
You know, I realize, Joseph, that you've been doing this, I think, for 20 years, a long time.
24.
24 years. I don't know how you stood it. But it's, you know, I've been part of dialogue for 35 years, and things have gone from good to bad and bad to good, but mostly now it's never been like this before. This is the worst of the worst, the most depressing, the most upsetting issues against all humanity, against young children. It bodes very poorly for the future because it's these embedded wounds are going to be carried on for decades to come. And for me, I think we have to sort of wear a new hat here and realize that we are starting not the way you started 24 years ago. This is a whole new ball game. And I don't even know how to respond to these specific details, but what I'm feeling inside is that it's requiring a whole new level of thought and toughness and understanding about our interdependence on this living system on Earth. We have to really be rethinking not just what's happening in Gaza and Israel, but how it expands out to the countries beyond, because we've seen how Israel's gone into Iran, and I don't even get all of it. It's so violent and so inhuman and it's just so depressing. So I think now's our time to be tough. We have to be straightforward. We have to call a spade a spade. We have to say where things aren't working and why they're not working, and about greed and power and the misuse of all of that, and write something that really reflects what is being required right now. What is it we can demonstrate by changing the dynamics of what's happening in Gaza and caring about all people? I know I'm rambling, but I have this feeling that we need to start from a little different base. We need to be rethinking where we are in history today and what it's going to look like 5 years and 10 years from now if business is the same. This is time for way, way, way new thinking and new understanding about the human dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I agree. We need somebody to protect the Palestinians. They're not on equal footing with Israel. That has
We're
to be
protecting
acknowledged.
everybody.
Right.
Right. I based on our discussion, I wrote this legislation. Can we, I know I'm trying to be focused here. And Libby, I was listening to you. I welcome new thinking. By all means, I think that our thinking is the new thinking, but let's have a vote on this legislation now. Let me read it. The conditions in Gaza and Israel require urgent humanitarian action to assist individuals deprived of basic necessities, including food and medicine, pursuant to Article 1, Section 2 of the Israeli-Palestinian Confederation Constitution. The Parliament of the Israeli-Palestinian Confederation hereby submits this emergency bill. All fighting and violence shall cease at midnight tonight. beginning at midnight tonight, the IPC shall be granted free and safe access to deliver food and medicine to all individuals in Israel and Palestine. The IPC's medical team shall be granted free and safe access to provide care to all individuals in Israel and Palestine. The IPC authorities shall create safe zone in the entire Gaza Strip to provide safety to the people of Gaza. The Israeli and the Palestinian governments are hereby granted veto power over the measure to be exercised before midnight tonight. Let's take a vote on this, and then we'll continue the discussion on this.
May I just quickly add, everywhere you have food, add water. Food, comma, water, comma, and medicine.
Yeah, that goes without saying.
Not sure, you know, the GHF, they provide food that needs water to even do anything, and energy, of course. But they have contaminated water throughout. That alone kill many of them. So I don't know. It's people forget that they don't have water actually.
You're right. That's a very serious part of the problem.
Okay, I added water.
Okay.
Okay, Nasir, can you put the vote? Or Dan, are you here? Yeah, Palestinian parliament members. Please vote. Palestinian parliament members. Publish the vote. 8 out of 8 voted yes. Let's have the Israeli parliament members. Publish the vote. 7 out of 7 Israelis voted yes. Again, this is not about the details of the legislation. This is about the process that a federal government could create for the purpose of making peace based on legitimacy that was given to it by the people of Israel and Palestine. Now,
congratulations. That's good. That's real good. Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. So it's going to be a process. It's going to be a process with the parliament. It's going to be a process with the governments. It's going to be a process. But the idea is that there should be a process by the people of Israel and Palestine who receive legitimacy from the people of Israel and Palestine. I want to stop sharing because this legislation brought about new discussions that I think that is very, very important. First of all, about Libby. Libby, you said, well, how long have you been doing this? And I told you 24 years. And you said, well, that you implied that after 24 years, it failed, and we have to rethink. And
I didn't say it failed. No. I'm going with you. It's a process. I said we're in a new place in history. So
yeah,
it calls for a different and a stronger response. But absolutely, you have not failed. I didn't say that.
I totally agree with you that this is a new place in history.
Okay.
I totally agree. I mean, and I think that we are actually closer to making this a reality. And I think that this, for 99.9% of the people that are concerned about this issue, whether Israelis or Palestinians or people of the world, 99.9% of them, this is the new thinking. This is not being discussed at all in the media. This is not being discussed at all in the Israeli or the Palestinian public. The only thing that we see in the Israeli and the Palestinian public is disparagement of each other. There is no real honest discussion, and I think we have a real honest discussion on how to resolve this.
Well, yeah, the Israelis don't see the Palestinians as human. And that's where it starts, right? So first of all, and so you have a huge gap between the two sides, how they see each other. And yeah, that's a tragedy beyond any, I cannot, yeah, I don't know what to say. It's beyond me.
Surprisingly, the Israelis now, more Israelis, because of October 7th, and are paying attention to the Palestinians. Okay? They're paying attention to the Palestinians. Before that, they were very dismissive. They thought the Palestinians are, the Palestinian issue is over. It's not, why to deal with it? But the Palestinians brought it back big time on October 7th. I think that Israel is now having a huge dilemma that is incapable of solving, and that's with Gaza. And what's going on in Gaza is going to break Israeli society apart, because the rational Israeli would say, what's the purpose of me going to Gaza and possibly being killed and losing arms or both arms or both legs? For what?
Yes, but notice something interesting too, that it is to a large extent thanks to the Hamas resilience. If Hamas puts their weapon and said, okay, all right, we are done dismantling and everything, Israel will have no problem killing all of them. All of them. And exactly like the Germans had no problem exterminating all the Jews if they could. The thing that can stop Israel is the United States, and the United States is not going to stop Israel, and neither is the Euro. So that's the problem. And yeah, I mean, as long as Hamas are fighting, the Israelis have a dilemma. Israelis are really concerned only about themselves. They don't see the Palestinians at all. They don't see the people in Gaza. For them, there's an enemy that had to be extinguished. That's the problem. I mean, and there is a deep and long reason for that. You can talk about it if you like.
I agree. I agree with Shlomo, because I feel that if it wasn't for the hostages and international reputation, because now Israelis are feeling the heat abroad when they travel, I honestly think that there wouldn't be, like, the people who are protesting, they're protesting because of the hostages. They're protesting because of the image, because of the what's going to happen to them. If it, now we're starting to see pictures of starving children and stuff, but these are the minority. The majority don't care about that.
Okay, Janine wrote, I don't think we can bet on Israeli society. Israeli society, at the end of the day, is going to do what's right for themselves. Okay? And what I am saying is, they're not going to be Palestinian lovers. They're going to be listen to having second thoughts about what is in their interest. They're going to have a more of an objective discussion or objective thinking about what's in their best interest. And in their best interest is not the government of Israel. Zionism is not in their best interest. They already realize this. And by the way, the Palestinians also are going through the same process. They understand that their government has not acted in their best interest. So I think that Libya is correct. We live in a vastly different time now, and there is going to be an objective discussion about a resolution to this violence that's been going on for 100 years, a true, honest discussion, not just a nationalistic discussion. Janine?
Thank you. And I'm sorry I'm driving, which is why I'm not on video. What I meant by that is that if the Palestinians are waiting for the Israeli public to align with what's in their best interest, then we will have no more Palestinians in Gaza or the West Bank. Israeli society may be divided, but the left and those who are demonstrating are under the same kind of fascist government that we are in America right now. So there is no strength within Israeli society to align with the Palestinian cause. So I think we need to just let Israel work out their own internal debate and struggle, but we have to think on a more international scale, which is what is best for the Palestinians. And while I agree, like we're trying to create this federal government that's going to be acceptable to both Palestinians and Israelis, it's really clear that what's acceptable to Palestinians will never be acceptable to the Israeli government. What I would suggest is that we use this opportunity to really reach out to the international community that has finally woken up to the conditions on the ground in Palestine. And as we are opening the vote for ourselves in this small group, why shouldn't the international community have a say in what's happening in the region? The international community is funding the war that's happening there. I also, the resolution that passed, I'm really grateful that we changed the language because we have to flood Gaza with humanitarian aid, and that
We lost Janine. We lost contact. If you come back, just raise your hand.
they're starving to death. So I'll put my hand down now and I'll keep listening, and then I'm going to jump on the video call. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, my friend, one comment quick. I have a guest here, and this is why I was late, and I need to bring them to the airport. So if I may need to leave in 5 minutes, but it's very important what we are doing right now. It's not no question.
Janine said something that I want to address, and she was talking about an Israeli left. The Israeli left is Zionist, okay? The Israeli left wants to be in the government, in the Israeli government. In my opinion, the Israeli left is using the crisis in Gaza in order to undermine the Israeli right and to put themselves in power. The Israeli left will not be able to resolve the conflict in what's going on in Gaza. They probably will do the exact same thing as the Israeli right. They are basically making the argument that they would be able to resolve this and they will be able to release the hostages. But they will be in the exact same position as the Israeli right and will probably act even more violently towards the Palestinians than the Israeli right. Look at all their candidates. They're all speaking in terms of militarism. The Israeli public has not been given another option, and that is what we are proposing: a federal government. We are basically telling the Israeli public, the Israeli government is incapable, whether it's the left or the right, is incapable of solving the issue with the Palestinians because it's a Zionist government. It is incapable of ever admitting what they've done in Israel and Palestine. It is incapable of apologizing or making right for the Nakba. It's incapable. And the reason it's incapable, because it will have to admit that it was 77 years of waste of time, waste of people, waste of people's lives. They can't go and say, oops, we made a mistake. So whether it's the Israeli left or Israeli right, they're going to continue with the same narrative that the Palestinians need to forget what we have done to them. That's the narrative that all Israeli governments would ever want, or would have the constituency to proceed with. We have to create an option for the Israeli public. And once we make it clear that the Israeli government is incapable of giving them peace, is incapable of changing courses, then they have another option, and it's a better option. And the option is a federal government. Sean.
Hi, Joseph. Can you hear me better?
Thank you.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah, we hear you. Just, yeah.
Joseph, lately I've been seeing the hysterias going on, and I'm constantly talking about it. About now, because of what's going on since October 7 and all the violence going on, and war crimes, and there's a lot of people are protesting, but now with what's going on, like now the Zionist lobby now are like pushing the government to make a law that criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. That they're conflating any criticism of Israel is anti-Semitism. Like they're pushing a law very hard to the government to make a law to punish people who criticize Israel or protest Israel. Like they're basically creating a bubble zone in areas where you're not allowed to go and protest. And they're doing it constantly. Like people can be fined or be serving time in jail for criticizing Israel. And they're constantly doing it. They're pushing a law, and there's a lot of people, and even people going on a lawsuit and going through courts, being sued for criticizing Israel. I know at the end maybe they didn't win, but to go through all the aggravation and the court law and the legal system, it's getting really hectic. And it's getting really hard now to even do anything about what's going on with what's going on in Gaza and Israel. Yeah.
Well, I criticize Israel regularly, and I criticize Zionism. I think that Zionism is not a ideology about equality. It's ideology of superiority, and it's not about equality. So,
I'm telling you, they're gonna keep constantly conflate the anti-Semitism with anti-Semitism, anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. Sorry, they're constantly doing anything they can, like any you know, and it's just I don't know what to say. I'm just seeing this happening again and again. Like the lobby is not gonna stop. They're gonna keep putting pressure on you know, anything they can get their hands on. Yeah. So yeah, like
all right.
people were asking me how is Israel continue to get away with all the stuff they're doing? It's very simple. If you can silence criticism, you can get away with just about anything. And that's basically the bottom line why they're continuing doing it, because you're not allowed to criticize Israel. You can criticize other countries, but if you criticize Israel, you're punished. You're having a lot of uphill battles with the Zionist lobbies and the legal system they try to implement to the government, tell them that we need to silence these people who are, you know, showing a bad image of Israel. Yeah, that's my comment. I don't have
So,
any. I don't
are
have
you
any more
saying how is that related to what we are doing?
All I'm saying is now all I'm saying is it's hard now to talk about the situation because we're having lobbies that are trying to silence us or shut us down because any mentioning of anything concerning Israel is off the limit. It's you're not allowed to talk about it, and this is what the
Yeah,
Israeli.
but we are doing it, and you know, we are on the right side of history.
Oh yeah, but
Okay, let's go
anyway.
to Margaret.
Hi, guys. I've been thinking about this obsessively. Net neutrality. When the internet first came out, communities like Anaheim, California, wanted to provide a public utility internet. It belonged to the taxpayers, and the fee you paid for the internet was run by the city of Anaheim. But that got quashed, right? For-profit communications, because the IPC Constitution promised that it will be a people-owned internet with no AI, no censorship, and that might appeal to people who have any brains, you know, no matter where they live, that they want to have internet that's neutral. Thanks for your consideration.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Nasir, did you want to add something?
Yeah, I wanted to kind of touch base on something that you said as well as Janine. And I'm gonna work it into Janine's question because she has a question in the chat. I think it was Janine. Was Janine? Were you the one that was driving? Yes, you were the one. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that was you. Okay, so she said that she was in addressing about there's definitely an initiative that we have in people who want to push the initiative that we share, but the powers that be are the ones that, for example, like for example, Janine said that, you know, currently in the U.S., Israel and the U.S. have a problem. They both have fascist governments. But the thing is, and I think you've said this very clearly and correctly, that even the so-called leftist, center left, whatever you want to call them, parties in Israel probably would not do anything different, you know, give or take, you know, a few things in Israel. And then here in the United States, I don't know if anyone saw the interview with Peter Buttigieg. Peter Buttigieg is seen as one of the possible people that will run for the Democratic candidate for president. And when he was asked about a Palestinian state, it almost like the cat got his tongue. He was started to choke and he couldn't speak. And I think that this is something that we have to address. And it was something with what even Sean mentioned, that the amazing influence that certain organizations have over politics, the people in power, where even it goes against the will of the people, their constituents. And we're starting to see this in the town hall meetings. And it's unfortunate that the only person who's speaking their mind on Palestine in a correct way is who? Marjorie Taylor Greene, of all people. And I don't think she does it out of love for the Palestinians. I don't even think she likes Palestinians. But the fact that she's tweeting things that are more popular rather than these coward Democrats that are basically fulfilling their obligations to the oligarchy of the ones who have been at the payroll of organizations such as AIPAC and special interests and things like that. This is a dilemma. This is a serious dilemma. And it's going to backfire. And I think when it backfires, it's going to hurt a lot of us because, in my opinion, in my 30 something years of activism into Palestinians and in America and on the ground in Palestine, I look and almost like yesterday I was in Berkeley. I met with a Palestinian guy yesterday in Berkeley who's an activist on the ground in the West Bank. And it was just amazing that how out of touch the leftist people that were on the streets demonstrating with Palestine. And it's like I told them, these people will never assume power. They will protest, they will stand for your right. And even among Palestinians now, they're starting to say, well, maybe we should get on board with these MAGA people. Yeah, they hate Palestinians. Yeah, they hate Muslims. But guess what? The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And they are probably the people who will serve to be an obstacle for these Israeli special interest groups that are funding Israel's genocide, because maybe the America First people are the ones, because they might not be the best allies we have, but they are the ones who will achieve that goal. And that's why I say that we have to have seriousness in the progressive camps, because the progressive, they talk the talk, but as far as who's doing, who's shaking, I mean, Donald Trump, for example, I honestly think that Donald Trump sometimes may actually be better for Palestine than say, for example, Kamala Harris is. I know people are going to be shocked when I say this, but there's certain things that I think Donald Trump will do. He has the ear of Arab countries where Biden didn't. He ignored Arab countries. And you could say that it's because of his financial interests or whatever interest, but I honestly think that ceasefire we had when he was elected probably wouldn't have happened if it was just Biden or Kamala Harris who won the election. I think that they're great. So Janine, you're asking about that, and I'll follow it into your question that you asked here. And I think, did she get disconnected? Okay, she said she has a question about, there are many organizations, federal confederation plans. Are you organizing with them? We've actually had people from the federal forum here. Phil Saunders has joined us many times. He, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe possibly before 2 weeks ago, we had several people from his forum, including, I can't remember her name, Joseph, the Palestinian woman from Bethlehem. I think it was Namat. Namat was her name.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had Namat and we had, I'm sorry?
Nimat Shama.
Yeah, Nimat Shema. Yeah, and then we also had some people from the Land for All people here. I don't think we've had standing together Omdi Miyachad people here, but we've had them. And I believe that on the website for Phil Saunders' federal forum, he has a group of people, organizations that calling for federal and confederate solutions, because he's trying to kind of have unify them. And I believe on his website he does include the the Israel-Palestine Confederation. So they do cooperate with us, Janine. We do have talks with them, and the Land for All presentation, I believe May Pundik came here. Yikatal, what's his name? I'm terrible with names. I'm sorry. Meron Rappaport was here. He's been a guest here. So we've had people from Land for All. Noor Awad, I believe, came one time, and he's also one of the people with the Land for All. So we've definitely working with these guys, and these guys are on the ground, which makes a difference, because they're actually people. When I was speaking with Phil last week, our phone call got interrupted because one of the Palestinian cities next to him, a young 16-year-old was, I believe it was a 16-year-old, I don't know the whole story, but was arrested, and he had to go help intervene and get the kid released from jail. So these are people who are doing, good work on the ground, with Palestinians on the ground and stuff like that.
Hano, welcome. I think you're the one who mailed me and said you have some questions about, and I said, could you ask them in public? And here you are, and we have, and this is being recorded. So what are the concerns or the questions that you have?
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you for addressing me. I'm not prepared, so I'm speaking spontaneously, but nevertheless, thank you. I'm working very closely with Phil, and the Democracy and Federalism Hub has the two aspects of democracy and federalism. And federalism is what we are speaking here about, and of what the other federal plans are speaking about. And democracy is the aspect I'm bringing in, because I'm a sociologist and a democracy theorist, and I have a special view on traditional democracy institutions of representation. And I think they play out in this specific case as well. Because in all our simulations, we have a very much short-sight perspective. We're looking on one decision to be made among these representatives. And I think all these simulations are valid and valuable, but they do not take into account the long-term dynamics which we have had in all Western democracies over the last decades, that people lose trust in their representatives. And this is a dynamic which, in my view, is basic to the fact that democracy as we know it, as voting for representatives, and these representatives do then decision on our behalf, has in many parts of the world not worked as in Western industrial societies, and is ceasing to work as it did in Western societies. And
well, I'm not following you. Are you saying that one of the deficiencies of the IPC is having local representation of parliament members because people will lose trust in their parliament members?
One of the deficiencies is having these local representatives doing all the decisions, yes. The decisions which have to be made will demand much of the people. And we will quickly run into dynamics like we have them in Western societies today, that people think, okay, these are the detached elites. Even if we have voted for them, we just had no other choice. And they will not longer follow their decisions and feel bound to their decisions and feel that they have to act on what these decisions have been made. So we have to give decisions to the people.
This is criticism of democracy.
It's criticism of representative democracy, not of democracy per se, because democracy is government for the people, by the people, through the people, and it does not need to be done via representatives. So this is just a historical period.
So what other system could there be for a democracy that is not representative democracy?
It's a form of individualized direct democracy. We need to give people the opportunity to make decisions, but we know that doing everything with direct democracy runs into the problems of grassroots democracy where people are overwhelmed. So we need indeed the option for representation, but it needs to be an option. And if the option is taken, it needs to be an option for individualized representation, not for just one person that has stood in this constituency where I'm living in.
So how would decisions be made? Give me
decisions.
an example.
Yes, yes, I do. Making decisions means you have a number of options and you take one of them. And you take one of them because there are enough people who see this option as the best one. Or at least if you have no option that is the best one for everyone or for very many people, to have an option that follows the so-called Condorcet criterion, where you have bilateral comparison with the other options, and when you have one option that wins against all the others, then this is a good choice to be chosen as the collective decision. And for that, you need the individual rankings of these options. Can you follow?
Are you talking about the actual legislation, or are you talking about choosing a representative?
No. About the actual legislation. You have one legislative proposal, and then you have another one.
Oh yeah, well, that makes perfect sense to have multiple options of legislation, and we just had 2 options, 3 options, and we chose one option in our
Yes.
simulation today.
Yes, but in our simulation, it was only the representatives doing the this process of thinking through the things.
So who else would do that if not the representative?
Citizens. All citizens that want to be.
So I understand. So you're saying each legislation will be voted upon by all citizens, and options will for more for others legislation would be presented to them, and the public at large will have an election each time regarding multiple options of legislation.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
And you know, you have told about making these votes via the internet, doing legislative decisions via the internet makes it technically possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful idea, provided that you have participation by the public. If the public does not participate, and it's only a segment of the public, then you run into the exact same issue.
No, exactly. That's why I said you need an individualized version of direct democracy. You need to give people the option to say, okay, I don't want to participate in this specific legislation, but letting them be represented.
I see.
Yeah. So you combine direct and representative democracy.
No,
this is one part. And the other part is that for the representation, you can individualize representation as well. And you can not only give them the option to vote for one person in their constituency, but you can give them the option to split their vote among all the political actors that they find good, supportable. And so everyone gets a personal, individualized set portfolio of representation, and this prevents his represented ranking of options.
What country in the world is doing that?
None. You have said we need to have the courage to do first things that have not done anywhere else in the world history before. And that's exactly what I'm proposing. I was very happy when you said that earlier.
Yeah.
But the Swiss does it, I think, in Switzerland.
The Switzerland, where I live, is a country that is most close to this concept. but they do not have the individualized direct democracy as well. You have very often direct democracy, and you have turnout rates that are still acceptable. But the option to mix direct and representative democracy in one decision is not given. But you're right, Carola. It's closest to my system of all countries in the world, and it shows that having numerous direct democratic decisions can work and can be stable.
Do you have any specific criticism of our Constitution? I think you said
just the mechanism that everything has to go through this bottleneck of personal 300 personal representatives. Else, I'm very fine.
I see. Okay. All right. With that, I think we're going to conclude. Unless anybody else wants to make some comments.
I will join later meetings as well, probably again with Phil, with whom I'm working very closely. And if there will other questions come up, I will be happy to.
Do you know that Phil is supporting the IPC?
Yes, I know. I know.
Okay. All right. Thank you
Okay.
all.
Hanno,
Heather, you raise your hand. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hanno, before you leave, and I missed just the very beginning of what you had been discussing, are you working on a specific project where there's where you have a resource or a website at all? I missed that, or is this just something that you're following?
Okay. Yeah, my website is still in the process of being built. But I can give the link as anyway.
Thank you. I'll bookmark it.
That's
all
it.
Right,
civildemocracy.org.
What is it? What is the? Okay, put your link on the chat.
Yes, I did it.
Okay, give time for people to copy it, and hopefully we'll see you in. We should have interesting simulations coming up with some very interesting people. All right. Thank you so much.
Hey, wonderful. Thank you, Joseph. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.